Welcome ladies and gentlemen to another update video. This time we'll be adding a butt kicker onto our sim rig. In this instance we have a simulation kit which comes with the amp and the butt kicker mini. My plan is to mount this directly to the bottom of the chair to try and get the most intense feedback from this system compared to the likes of the Gamer 2, which clamps onto the frame via a bar. The kit comes with the amp and a single butt kicker mini concert. Now, this uses a 170 gram magnetically suspended piston. It runs between 5 Hz and 200 Hz, and it connects via these two cables. The amp itself feels good. It is 250 watts. On the front here we have our adjustments for the frequency, and on the rear we have our in-out outputs and our power. My original plan was to mount this here onto the side of the sim rig. However, if we take a look inside, there is no mitigation for vibration. So there's no silicone or snot glue or anything like that around the capacitor. So the vibrations would definitely hamper this in the long term. So I end up making a little shelf, put it on the side of the table, and this is where it's going to live. In terms of connectivity, we have the supplied 3.5mm splitter. This end here goes into the sub or the base of your sound card and it splits. So this is the cable that's supplied with the kit. One end goes in here. This end here will be for your headset. These two don't have to go in here. You only need one channel to go into the input, which is the white on the top. But for illustration purposes, they're both going in. Now, to connect to the butt kicker, we plug these into the output. This is normal speaker cable, and these then have to be spliced into these two guys here, like so. The next step will be mounting the butt kicker itself. In this case, the simulation kit allows you to mount it direct to the chair, so I'll be mounting here in the center. So let's make some marks and drill some holes. Those holes are countersunk, so they're nice and smooth, and we put the cover down and you wouldn't even know they existed. For extra brownie points, I ran the speaker cable through the frame of the unit itself. I use these Wagos quick connects to connect the cables together. They simply snap open. You put one in like so, and the other one goes in like so. Snap them together, and that's our connection made, and they can just kind of get cable tied and hide up here out of the way. The next step is going to be the software to run this. So I am using a free tool called SimHub. So just Google it. This one here, simhub-.com. Downloads, and this is what you're going to click on here. Version 7.3.2 is what I have. It is January 2020, so things, January 2021, so things might change. Now, when you install that, this is what you're going to get. We're going to go on the left-hand side down to Shake It, Bass Shakers. Onto the top, Sound Output, and here is where you're going to pick your audio output. If you go down to your sounds, into your playback, this is where your output devices are. So you guys might be coming out through HDMI. In my case, I'm coming out through my Realtek onboard sound driver, which is set to 7.1. Check that, because initially when I put it in, it was only set to 5.1 and I couldn't get it to work. I had to go in and set it to 7.1 and it worked fine. Once I had that set, I went through all these different settings here, which are just different channel options like so, to see which one worked. And if you recall, we had a black and a red output, which is left and right from our Y splitter. So I currently only have the right one plugged in. So when I click on this, it will vibrate. Once that is set up, we go back to our effects profile, and here we turn on and off what we want. So let's say we want to add the engine vibration in here. We can then do different kind of customizations as to what's happening. I haven't messed around with this too much myself. I'm going to go into a Assetto Corsa Competizione and set this up, and I'll send you guys a screenshot as to what levels I found suited me and having it bolted straight onto the seat. So let me get the rig back in here, turn on the game, and see if we can get it configured and give you guys some feedback. Okay, welcome to the streaming setup. So at the moment, the butt kicker is plugged directly into the back of the PC. We have SimHub doing nothing at the moment. Everything is disabled on it, and we're just going to see what it feels like plugs straight in without using the software. So I'm in my BMW on Suzuka. Start the engine. Okay, I can feel something very faint there. Oh, it's a bit more intense now. Alright. Nothing from the rumple strips. So the lower tones of the lower RPM of the engine, I'm feeling that. I'm also feeling a little blip from the gear changes, but I'd say that's probably going to be down to the fact that the audio is being cut. Nothing for ABS either. And we're getting nothing for any kind of traction control or wheel slip or slide. So, okay, it's quite faint. Really, would you notice it? Yeah, you can feel it, but it's not really adding much to it because I can't feel anything coming from the car. It's just basically engine vibrations. So, let's back out of that and jump into SimHub and make some changes. So let's turn on ABS, wheel spin, traction control. What else have we got here? Engine vibrations. Let's turn that on. Oh, okay. I can definitely feel a difference there now. That's for sure. Oh, wow. Okay, and gear shifts. Okay, let's just give them a go to see. There's definitely a difference. So I definitely recommend using the software. There's a massive improvement in terms of intensity. Oh, yes. Oh, wow. Okay, so we definitely have engine vibrations. And the gear changes are so thump. It's like someone's giving me a kick in the arse. That's a little bit too intense now, to be honest with you. Engine vibrations are also a little bit too high. They're taken away from everything else. Okay, let's try ABS. Okay, so the ABS is more of a thump, 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 thump feeling. Traction control. Okay, so traction control is basically just giving me, it's upping up and giving me what feels like a line of vibration. So when the traction control comes on, it's a higher vibration frequency. Okay, so there's definitely a huge improvement using SimHub. It does need a lot of dialing in because the engine vibration and gear shifts are quite intense. So let me play around with a bit. I can't feel any rumple strips or anything like that or any road impacts, but there are settings in here. So I'm going to work on that and come back to you with what I find is going to be best for me. And I'll put a screenshot of that up at the end so you can check your settings out and then adjust that to suit. Okay, I believe I have it set to what I feel is comfortable. I lowered down the outputs an awful lot. They were way too noisy to start off with, and there was no distinction between the different parameters. So I've lowered everything down and I went through them all individually and made what changes I felt was necessary. So what I have at the moment is I have very little input when you're just driving around normally. I have the engine vibrations down quite low just to give a little bit of feedback as to, you know, like a constant, almost like a white noise effect. That goes up and down slightly, so that's quite nice. I then had the gear shift on quite strong. Now when I say quite strong, I have it on at 20%, but compared to everything else, it's more of a thump. That's quite nice. Then we have, the main thing is the road impact, so we have the rumple strips. Again, I have them on quite low again, so that they kind of match in with what I'm getting from the steering wheel, so they're working together. And then other than that, the ABS traction control, very hard to set them. It appears you need to pay for the proper version of SimHub in order to lower down the minimum time on the vibration. So if you imagine like a normal traction control system would be kind of a bum 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 bum. I'm only getting like a bum 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 bum. So it doesn't feel fantastic. However, it does let me know that I've locked up my brakes. When that does happen, I do get quite a heavy thump out of the base kicker, so that's nice. Traction control, again, another one coming out of corners. It's quite good. It seems to marry up with what's coming up here on the display when the traction control turns on, so I'm quite happy with that. Wheel lock doesn't really come into effect too much unless you really go deep and lock the wheels up. But given I'm using ABS, not really getting a huge amount of that. I do have it in there. And then finally, we have wheel slip. So that's the one I'm probably using the most. I have that set to 40%. And I dial in such a way that it only comes into effect when I'm after going over the limit, and it seems to gradually come in, which is quite nice. I'm not sure how it's doing that, if it's using like the tire squeal or something, but it does seem to marry up with that. So I'm going to take a snip of this and I'm going to put it on the screen now so you guys can get an idea of what I'm looking at. And this to me adds a lovely dimension and another dimension to it, which I think is really adding to the game. One thing I will say is I did have a slight issue twice where I believe it overheated when I was setting it up. Now I can see the amp, and the amp was cutting the gain, and it just stopped twice. Now it hasn't done it since I've got it to this current configuration. And if I had some extra money, what I would really like to do is to get one up here on the back of the chair so I can get my chest involved as well. Now I don't know if we'll go that far, but if we'll do, be sure to subscribe, because I will surely put another video up with my thoughts on that. Now finally, what I want to do is I want to get you guys to as if someone's sitting in the room with me. I want you to experience the sound that this thing is making, because it is not noisy, even though it's directly to the seat and I'm trying to bring it down a bit. It is quite noisy, so I'm going to see if I can cut the sound in the video, do a few corners and up the gain on the microphone so you guys can hear that. So there we have it. The vibrations are not too bad, but they are definitely noticeable, and that's at 20%. When we up that up to 100, it's real audible. It's like having someone with a TV on in the same room with you. So overall, I'm really happy. Well worth the 250 quid that it cost. I would like to get another one and put on top of the chair. I have also heard of people getting two, and on the output you have left and right for your speakers coming out of your sound card, and you can have one going left, one going right, and you can actually distinguish between left and right and rumple strips and stuff like that in the chair. But for me at the moment, and for most of us, I'd suspect this is probably the best bet. So yeah, well worth getting. One comment I would say, if your rig is, let's say, upstairs and you're on timber floors, it's definitely going to cause an awful lot of noise as it reverberates through the floor and through the house. So that's one thing to note. I am with rubber pads on a concrete tile floor. They do give you rubber pads to help isolate your rig from the ground. I don't need to use that. It would help, of course. However, regardless, there's still going to be a lot of transmission between timber floors. So bear that in mind when you get it. Thanks for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe for more. Thank you.